All right, we're going to begin our new chapter in history. So we've finished, our previous chapters have been about the first 13 colonies in America. Now we're starting our new chapter, chapter 9, which is called the Revolutionary War. So they have a picture in here. It looks like people who have, they're maybe doing some sort of reenactment from the Revolutionary War. There are people wearing the clothes that would have been worn at that time. The focus of our new chapter is the colonists fought the Revolutionary War with Great Britain to gain freedom from British rule. And they have a list of important words that are going to come up in this chapter. British, Patriot, Declaration of Independence, Revolutionary War, Loyalist, Surrender. So we'll notice some of those words when we read this together. Now today we're going to read about actually something that came before the Revolutionary War. And we'll be doing a worksheet, page 165, that will review what we learned from reading this history together. Why don't we read it together? Open your history book, page 156. It says the French and Indian War. Okay, now this might be something you don't know very much about. This is something that happened before the Revolutionary War. So let's find out more about it. Colonists now lived all along the Atlantic coast in North America. Many of these colonists were from England. Some were also from Scotland, Ireland, and Wales. These four countries together were called Great Britain, and they were all under the same ruler. Citizens of these countries were known as British. The British were not the only settlers in the New World. You know that, right? We've read a lot about how colonists came from many other countries in Europe. Many settlers had come from the country of France. Some French people lived in the 13 colonies. Many more lived west and north of the colonies, and they lived in places that were good for fur trading. And they've put a map here so that you can imagine, you can picture what kind of land they're talking about when they're saying British people said it was theirs, French people said it was theirs, and then all of this purple stuff, they're both saying, they're like, no, it's mine, no, it's mine, no, it's mine. Okay, so you can tell this probably will be a problem. Okay. France and Great Britain both wanted to rule over North America. They both wanted to own all the land. They both wanted the goods produced there. They could not settle the problem, and a war began. Okay, so that paragraph right there has a lot of important information in it. Part of this war took place in America. It was called the French and Indian War. Most of the Indians fought on the French side. The Iroquois, however, fought on the British side, and many of the colonists fought for the British too. The war lasted for 7 years. The British finally won, and Great Britain gained more land in the New World than it had ever had before. So then you can see, this is the same map, but look how it's changed after the war. Okay, so when you do your worksheet number 165, this worksheet is all about the French and Indian War. You're going to want to use your textbook to answer these questions. Be a student of your textbook, right? We've read it together. Now they're going to ask, this worksheet's going to ask you questions, and you're going to want to try to take what we read together, and if you can't remember or you're not quite sure how to put it, you're going to ask your textbook. Okay, so take those questions right there to your book and find the answer there. And the process of going and finding the answer and then putting it onto paper will help you learn. So we have the very first question is, why did the war begin? And there's a box for it. The French wanted, the British wanted. Do you remember I told you that paragraph was really important in the reading? Who fought on each side? And you'll have a place to list those who fought on each side. Okay. How many years did the war last? And who won the war? Now that you know these are the questions, maybe you want to take a colored pencil and underline the answers there in your book. And when you put your answers here, you're going to put a simple version of them. You don't need to write word for word all the sentences from your textbook. You need to take that information and put it here. Okay? I look forward to seeing your hard work. Okay, for reading today, we're not going to read a new story yet. We're going to keep working on information that we've learned about the dulcimer and stuff we've done in our worksheet so far. But our worksheet today asks the question, what's the main idea? So we're going to do a little bit of practice of how you read and find a main idea. Okay? The worksheet all has short stories, just short snippets that you can read and then figure out there is a main idea to the whole thing that you've read, but there are also supporting details. So the important thing while you're reading is to think about being aware of what's the main idea of this whole thing together and what are supporting details that just support what the main idea is instead of being the main purpose or meaning of the story. All right, I have an example for us. I will read you a short snippet of a story, okay? And you listen and think, what is the main idea of this story? I'll give you some choices at the end, okay? The rain began early in the morning. It fell as hard drops, one after another. The sky was full of dark purple clouds. Thunder began as soft rumble and became louder and louder. Lightning crashed every few minutes, making the sky a brilliant white. Okay, so I just read you a short part of a story called, and I forgot to tell you the title, but the title is The Storm. The Storm, that's the title of the short story, okay? Now, when you're listening to The Storm, what do you think is the main idea? Here are some choices. A, farms need rain. B, the thunder hurt people's ears. C, lightning made the sky bright. Or D, the storm was very strong. Okay, so let's think about, I'll read you the story again. The storm. The rain began early in the morning. It fell as hard drops, one after another. The sky was full of dark purple clouds. Thunder began as a soft rumble and became louder and louder. Lightning crashed every few minutes, making the sky a brilliant white. Okay, some really good adjectives in that story to help us really picture what's happening. Now, some of what we heard in that story are details, but there's one sentence that is the main idea, and of those options I gave you, do you know which one is the main idea? Well, it is the last one. The storm was very strong. That is the main idea. And when you're finding a main idea, one way, this is a really good hint, okay? One good way to find out the main idea of something is first, check the title. The title almost always has a very good clue as to what the main idea of what you're reading is going to be. And if you will take a moment to notice the title and think about, just at least consider, wonder what the main idea of this is before you begin reading, it will help your comprehension, your understanding of whatever you're reading. That's true if you're reading an article that's nonfiction. A lot of times the title is going to tell you exactly what the main idea is, right? If you're reading a story, the title still usually gives a clue to what the main idea of the story is, what the story is mostly about, right? The story I read you today was about a storm, but not just any storm, it was about a storm that got very strong, all right? Now there were details, supporting details that went with that, right? Like the lightning made the sky bright, or the clouds grew, did it say the clouds grew bigger and dark purple, right? The thunder became a really loud rumble. So those are all supporting details for the main idea being that the storm was very strong. Now you're going to get to do that same thing in your reading book or in your reading worksheet, page 329. If you want to have that out, we can look at it together. You'll read the story and put an X by the main idea. Now you'll notice that your options are either going to be supporting details or main idea, so don't get confused. Make sure the one you're choosing is the main idea. All right. And then the back is fill in the blank for a phonics review, and you're going to do a great job at it. Okay, for math, we're doing more multiplication, all right? This is, let's see, what worksheet are we on? Math worksheet 241, 242. Okay, so we're sort of going to be reviewing what things have we been working on this past several worksheets. Okay, more multiplication. Let's, instead of introducing new concepts, let's mostly review things we've been working on. I love that this worksheet, you should take it out now, 241, 242. It begins with asking you to just do your skip counting. Okay, and that's because, like I said, skip counting is where people start with multiplication. Eventually, everybody everywhere just memorizes their multiplication tables, but a good place to start is skip counting. Helps you keep track of what's happening and what your answer is. It can help you find the answer if you're not sure. So you guys are really good at skip counting by twos. And we notice when we skip count by twos, the pattern, because it's always 2 more and 2 more and 2 more. They're all even numbers, and I know you guys are really good at skip counting by twos. Now, number 2 is skip counting by threes. Sometimes this is a little bit trickier, which is why I like to sing a song for it, right? I sing 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24, 27, 30, and we're done. Okay, so I want you to fill in the threes, skip counting by threes. If you need to pause the video and take the time to fill that in or re-listen to the song, you can do that, okay? Then you're going to fill in the fours, skip counting by fours. Again, I like to use a song. It helps me remember. 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, 28, 32, 36, 40, 44, 48. Singing fours is really great. Okay? So I want you to fill in the fours. That's going to help you answer, when you get down into the rest of the worksheet, any of your multiplication problems that have a 4 in it. If you're having a hard time solving it, you can go back to where you've listed how to count by fours. It can help you find the answer. All right? Skip counting by fives is something that you're all really good at. I've heard you practice it a lot, and I know that you can remember the pattern that every number when you skip count by fives either ends in a 0 or a 5, okay? And when you skip count by tens, every time it ends in a 0, all right? Now, one thing that's different, you have several opportunities to just solve subtraction problems, okay? 6 through 13 is just solving subtraction problems. Sometimes they're writing them horizontal and sometimes they're writing them up and down. But on number 14, they're asking you to compare. So we're going to use our comparison symbols. Remember, greater than and less than to compare the two multiplication problems. So what I suggest you do is first solve this. Think about it. What is 2 times 2? Well, we know that's 4. So you can just make a little note of a 4 above that problem so you can remember what it is. And what is 1 times 5? Well, remember, when you're multiplying anything with a 1, the answer, the product, is the other factor. So 1 times 5 is 5. Now we can look at these answers, 4 and 5, and we can say that 4 is less than 5. And our greater than and less than, remember, it's like a monster or an alligator. The open mouth is towards the bigger number, okay? Number 15, here's another chance to do that same thing. So first, we will solve these and then we'll compare, right? The comparison symbol. 3 times 2, and what is that answer? We could count by threes, couldn't we? We could go 3, 6. We know the answer. You could also count by twos, 2, 4, 6, right? The answer is 6. And 2 times 4, you can count by twos, 2, 4, 6, 8, or you can count by fours, 4, 8. And 6 is less than 8. Okay, so that's how you do that. I suggest you solve them. Just make a little note of the answer just above, and then decide which comparison symbol you're going to use for your answer, right? Now, number 17 is a word problem. I'll read it to us. There are 3 trees outside Patty's window. Patty saw 4 squirrels in each tree. How many squirrels did Patty see in the trees? Okay, so there are 4 squirrels in each tree, and how many trees are there? Make sure, yes, 3 trees. Okay, so if you want to, they give you a big space to draw a picture to help you solve the problem. You could use an array there if you would like to. And you can say 4 times 3. 4 squirrels in 1, 2, 3 trees. Okay, and then the number of dots there is the answer to the problem. 4, 8, 12. Okay. So that's, if you would like to draw a picture, you can draw the array to help you solve it, and that's the answer. So on the back, you're just more opportunities to solve multiplication problems. Multiplication is something you just repeat until it becomes something that you memorize. Right now, you probably look at a multiplication problem and you calculate it. And eventually, it'll be something that you look at and you have the answer memorized. Okay, the same as you probably can do with some addition and subtraction, that it used to be something you had to always only count, and now there's some multiplication and subtraction that you know because you've memorized the answers. Okay, and then there's a little some review questions on the back. It's interesting because they're giving you, it's fill in the bubble, and they give you the option of fill in the bubble, that's the right answer, or if the answer is not here, fill in the bubble for not here. So that's interesting and a little bit different. Second grade, I want to talk about our assignments for today for spelling and for phonics. Now, what I want you to do for spelling today is to copy your spelling list, copy all your spelling words. It really helps you make connections in your brain and memorize when you just simply write it down. Now, we used to write them every day when we were in class together, remember? So I want you to practice today writing down your words. You can copy it on a blank piece of paper. You can copy it right next to the spelling list in your spelling workbook if you'd like to, on the worksheet you already completed this week. That's up to you. But I would like you to write down your spelling words. Notice the patterns and how it's spelling words that then when you make it plural, you change the Y to an I and add ES. Okay, so I want you to notice what the patterns are. Think about that. You have a couple of review words and you have memory words, friend and heart, which you just have to memorize how to spell them. Okay, so write your spelling list. Okay, practice that. I picked out a phonics page today, 197 and 198, where you get to practice this rule, how sometimes when you make a word, when you change a word from singular to plural, fly, there's one little fly. But then if you have 2 flies, they kind of look like bumblebees. Then you take out the Y and add an I-E-S. Okay? So these phonics pages give you lots of different opportunities to practice that. And not all words that you make plural. Usually when you make a word plural, you simply add an S, right? So not all words that end in Y change, right? If you change, there's one boy. Or if there's more than one, we say there's 2 boys. We don't change the Y, right? We just put an S, boys. Okay, so you get to practice on your phonics different ways that you make words plural, and how sometimes you take out the Y and add an I-E-S, and sometimes you simply put the Y at the end, or put the S at the end, right? So copy your spelling list and do this phonics page, which is going to give you a good chance to practice some of what we're learning.